Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's lesson. This is lesson 41, and we're going to look at the novel, the short story, and folklore. And that is because grade 8s have to do all of these genres. I'm Mrs. Swart, and I'm going to try and point out the differences to you and give you short examples of what these genres are. So, what is the difference? I Am David is a very good example of a novel, appropriate for the grade and age. And a novel is a piece of long narrative in literary prose. A narrative prose is meant to entertain and tell a story. It's a description of a chain of events. It includes a lot of characters, a setting, and an ending. And it can also have more than one plot. You'll see that when we get a little bit further on. So it's not just one central idea and whoops, and it's over. It can have quite a lot more, that it's telling quite a few more examples of things that happen. It can have quite a few characters. It also has the opportunity to describe the setting in more detail because it has words available. So that's a great thing about a novel, is it can tell us a lot more. It can give us more detail, more description, and it can help you to paint this picture in your mind that will really be great for you to enjoy the novel. Then a short story, and there's a very good example of a short story in our core readers called The Old Man at the Bridge by Ernest Hemingway. It's only 1 page long. It's a work of short narrative prose. It's usually centered on a single event. It is limited in scope. It has an introduction, body, and conclusion. And although a short story has much in common with a novel, it's more precise. The detail is shared of characters, of events. Anything that's colored in there is essential to the story. It's something you need for the story. So that is why anything like in The Old Man at the Bridge, the description about the sky and anything passing by this old man, because it's set in a wartime, it is there for a reason. It's necessary. It's part of the information that this writer needed, this author needed to tell the story. It's probably one of the most descriptive pieces in a very short amount of words. So what's the difference between a short story and folklore? Now, folklore, what usually happens here, it's traditional stories, customs, habits of particular community or nation. It's now also in written form, but in the past, traditional folklore used to be passed by word of mouth. That means that they were stories that were told. For instance, how the elephant got his long trunk. That was a story that was passed by mouth to children, rather. They were told stories by their grandparents, by their great-grandparents. Unfortunately, now with the digital age, there's this really great advantage that this doesn't have to get lost, because a lot of these stories would have been lost in the past. But now we have the digital age and recordings can be done. Languages that were thought to be lost in the past are now no longer lost. And it's very simple. How the elephant got his long trunk. We're going to look at it just now when we look at our Freytag's pyramid again. Remember that a lot of the elements in the novel, short story, and folklore are also elements that we find in the drama. There's setting, things like that. So there are some common elements, but there are things that are different as well. The plot is about what happens in the story. Remember, a short story and folklore usually only has one plot. It's something that happens. There's one event that occurs, whoops, it's over, because there isn't placed to fill in anything else because it's so short. The novel would probably have various subplots. Would probably have a central plot and some subplots. You can, of course, use direct speech in your storytelling because it gives character to the story. It makes it more real. It makes it really valid when you read these short stories and you read a story. It's so real. The characters become lifelike, and that is what direct speech helps with. The setting, where and when this occurs, the timeline, it could be specific, that could be historically specific, it could be a day, a few hours. and go and read the one of Ernest Hemingway. Brilliant piece. And it will really help you to be able to see how clever a very good author can be with writing such a short story. Now, a narrator in the story, that is your storyteller, the person telling us about the story. It could be a first person, which would then be I and we, and the narrator is then part of the story. If it's a second person, then the narrator will refer to you, and then we'd speak directly to the reader. The third person, we often speak of the all-seeing one, and that is when it's a third person, then they tell you everything, they fill in everything, because they're not just telling you from one perspective. You're getting this idea of things that happen, or things that they know, that they're sharing with the reader, that the character doesn't know about. And that's very exciting, because then you know more than the character knows. Now, characters, we know they could be round and they could develop, or they could be flat, no development. But remember that with a short story and folklore, there will be fewer characters, because there isn't time to develop your characters or to really say too much about them. So everything that is said in folklore or short stories is absolutely essential. Anything about the character is absolutely essential. Characterization, again, direct or indirectly, what the character says, what others say about the character, and what the characters do. The description of the character's physical traits, how the character looks, that is our character, the picture we form of what our character looks like. And that is why sometimes you've read a book and you then see a film and you say, a character, that guy, he doesn't suit that part at all, really. I don't know why they used him in the film version of that book. It doesn't make sense. He doesn't suit the part. Now, let's quickly look at the plot. The plot tells us what happens. We started the exposition, in which it's an introduction to the setting, the characters, and events. So it's not just setting and characters and there it ends. And also the events that could be taking place or going to take place, the rising action, the story builds up. Let's look at how the elephant got its trunk. The introduction, we see the crocodile and the little elephant, but then the elephant had a short little nose and is at the river, and he wants to go to the river to drink water. And the rising action, the story builds up to where this little elephant goes, and he doesn't have a choice. He has to drink water, and the crocodile grabs him on his snout. And the climax of it is, the crocodile's got him on the snout and he's dragging and he's pulling. He wants to pull this little elephant in, and the elephant doesn't allow that. And then the story unravels where the elephant gets loose from the crocodile and he has this long snout, and the situation is resolved because the elephant then gets away and can live happily where he is. So I want you to go and practice being able to use Freytag's pyramid so that you can break up your story into the most important parts and also the parts that show you the rising action, where it builds up to a climax, where it falls down and unravels. Look at that and make sure that you are capable of doing that. Now you're going to do the usual practice makes perfect. And I want you to continue practicing and making it perfect, because you have the ability. Click on the link, and then if you can't get through on the link, you can try the QR code, which is on the next slide. I want to wish you good luck with the quiz. I look forward every time to see how you did in the quiz. Did you read carefully? Did you understand what it was that you were being asked? Because remember, when I do a quiz, I always use what is being asked or what is presented in our slides. So it makes it a little easier for you. You don't have to try and think of something different or what could it possibly be, because you know I'm going to ask what is in the slide. Good luck and enjoy the day. Thank you so much.